Nice. Let's make sure that's not orange. Might start orange. It's green. That means we can go.
Stream health.
All right.
For your stream health.
So let's post about it that we're going.
Posting about it that we are going.
See, look at it. Am I ready or
ready
what?
to go?
Am I ready or what?
We know this movie is tracking heavily, so we are and ready to go.
Keep singing.
Trying to keep singing and trying to be funny as Cecil finishes all of the social medias, but Fuego is running out of steam and running out of melody. Suddenly,
oh, he's making it work. He's making it work.
Trying, and I'm about to be dying.
All right, we're almost there.
We're so very close.
We're letting everyone filter in.
Yes, please do.
Come closer.
That's too close. South Park reference for you.
Oh,
I was actually really amused at how many South Park references Danny Nightmare was throwing out when we were talking with him.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I was just like, yup.
Yup.
I don't think he likes me very much.
Oh, all right. I'm going to give that a little like. Okay.
So, gracias to everybody who gave a brief little tune-in to our Spider-Man Far From Home abrupt trailer reaction that we did earlier before we went to the glass screening.
Indeed.
Hail to Stephen King will be seen on another day this week for that sheer fact, because this is just pressing stuff. Sorry, Side King.
Can you all hear us?
All of you.
We're good? We're
Hoping
good on the audios?
All of you can hear us.
What's up, Teddy Holiday and Aylin Servin? I really like that name, Aylin. If that's anything close to a real name, good for you. Please tell me this movie bad. Well, that is what we're here to do.
That is indeed what we're here to do.
We're gonna talk and BS for just a couple of minutes
while
we wait for the audience proper to filter in. So,
yeah, and that's the funny thing.
Can you imagine if we just did this for minutes? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm suddenly thinking of the Infuegotainment review we did, where it was like, did we do that?
Here, I thought I was being
we were watching Minions and so on.
Oh, that's right, Minions. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Teddy actually commented on us being at the screening on Instagram. I saw, "What's up, Teddy?" And he was like, "The early reviews have been bad. Please tell me it's good." There's going to be very despondently different opinions about this film. I think there's going to be some people who really love the hell out of this film, and then there's going to be some really cynical critics who hate on this film, and I think that's more so what you're going to be getting and what you've possibly seen from a lot of people. So I'm really looking forward to giving an opinion on this one. Indeed, we are looking forward to doing this. Now, this review is going to be non-spoiler. Non-spoiler. We will be recording a spoiler review immediately after, but we are not... I didn't want to do both of them in one, because if someone saw the stream and jumped on in the middle of the spoiler section, that'd be really shitty to do to them. And yet we still always have people who jump on there like, spoil on the stream. We want to hear all the spoilers, but no, that's not what we're doing right now. Yeah, not the intention. We will be uploading the spoiler review later tonight. So if you are one of those people, and the reason we do this is because there are a number of commenters that we have that are like, I love watching spoiler stuff before I see. It actually helps me decide if I want to see the movie, or I watch the movie anyway, whatever. All those people, if they want to spoil it for themselves, that's fine. We're going to give them the opportunity. And rest assured, I will tell you guys one thing about our movie reviews. When we go see some of these movies, like that, dude. I can't either. But when we go see these movies, we inevitably have to decide, is this movie worth doing a spoiler review for? No. Well, you even have the same conundrum with Escape Room, right? With Dirk. Yeah, and because we saw the movie a month and a half early, I'm like, did we do a spoiler review? Yes, we did. We just held on to it until the opening. I don't think we're going to hold on to it until the opening of the movie this time, but the reason we do this is because, some people just really like to do it, and I've found that more and more, and I will say the point I was driving at is sometimes we have to decide, is this movie worth doing a spoiler review for? I walked out of this movie going, we have to do a spoiler review for this movie, because there is a lot to spoil in this movie. Yes, there's tons. But that is not what we're doing right now. No. So we're going to keep it very much just impressions, performance, and, scripting, which, if I'm going to give a slight little hint, is one of the few things that I felt was lacking a little bit in this because the pressure was on.
Okay.
You know, and so I'm not sure when you want to launch into it.
I say we go. We've got a double digits going here, so let's get into it, guys. This is our. Well, first off, hello, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Bienvenidos. I'm Jaime Fuego,
and we are here to talk non-spoilery about the brand new release Glass.
Yes.
We got to see an early screening today. There are reviews already out there, so it is not the first screening.
No.
But it doesn't officially open until this coming Thursday.
Yeah,
I should say.
It's
so we saw it 2 days early.
Yeah, it's so funny because of the fact that Friday night is where they're like, it opens Friday, but then preview screenings have become so prevalent in the industry now that Thursday night, if it's a big release, you can usually see it the night before, and so.
Okay, I'm gonna address something really quick. Let me go ahead and say hi to some people. We saw Teddy. We said hi to Teddy and Aylin, and it is Aylin's real name. That is an amazing name, Aylin.
I know.
Dino is here.
Dino,
evening,
man.
guys. What's up, brother man?
Dino is.
I watched him sort of wrangle the showbiz beat last night without CP at the helm because CP's in Denmark. So
nice.
Dino, I saw Dino as kind of like the coordinator. I think he did a great job. Andrew Church just jumped on and said, I watched Unbreakable in preparation for seeing Glass. I haven't seen Split. I will address something. This is something we need to address. This movie was 100%. It was definitely, I mean, I would say it is 50% sequel to Unbreakable, 50% sequel to Split. He managed, we're going to get into it.
Okay.
But I think that you absolutely need to see both.
Yeah, you
to
need to
fully appreciate
this movie because of the fact that.
And I would recommend watching Unbreakable rapidly. I didn't watch it recently, and I was like, I wonder how many things I missed. Because there are literally, I will tell you one thing, there are some things that they refer to from Unbreakable, and they even do something really, really cool that is a spoiler that I can't say, but they do something really cool using the Unbreakable mythos as well as the Split mythos, but one thing in particular we'll get into in the spoiler section when we do that review.
And they legit use
watch them both.
Small little tidbits like refresher wise from both films.
Yes.
So you genuinely need to watch Split.
You should.
This is not just an Unbreakable sequel. This is a sequel to both Split and Unbreakable.
A Split Breakable sequel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny as the movie was starting, and I was like, okay, you're initially Unbreakable, and then you Split, and then you're Glass because you're so fragmentable and you're.
Well, not only that, but I mean, each one referred.
Well,
no, each one referred to obviously
different
one of the people.
Yeah,
one of the core three, as it were.
Exactly.
So let's get into our
multi-layered.
Let's get into. So we do our reviews on this channel by doing our overall thoughts. Then we talk about the story, the acting, the effects, the camera work, the sound design, all of that in turn.
Every base property.
So we're going to go ahead and do that. We are not going to address the comments until towards the end, in which case we can address the non-spoilery questions. Because again, this is a non-spoiler. I know some people hate when I harp on this, but we're doing it live, so I want to keep reiterating. But my overall thoughts, getting right into it finally once and for all, my overall thoughts were, I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed the movie. I had some problems. It was not a perfect film.
No, not at all.
But I will tell you one thing that I kept coming back to while I was watching. I was essentially doing this. I didn't actually do this, but I was essentially doing this where
I can attest.
And you were leaning forward the whole time almost, so you were into it. What I was going to say is,
second act especially was where I was just like,
what I was going to say is, I was into the whole movie. Every single scene, there was something I was in. I wanted to know more about how David Dunn from Unbreakable got here. I wanted to know more about how the Beast got here. I wanted to know more about how Mr. Glass got here. So every segment of the movie, I was wrapped with attention. I really, really wanted to know what was going to happen next. And I was so, at this point, after watching the first two movies, so invested in what was happening with all three of the core characters.
After we finally realized they all interlocked.
That this is, this is something that really was a shining thing for the movie, because there wasn't really a dull moment for me. There were some scenes that, could have been maybe sped up a little bit, but ultimately, I enjoyed everything that we got, because ultimately, I enjoyed everything we got because it was so cool to see continuations of everyone's story. And let me give the proviso, for those of you that may not be familiar with the channel, I am a huge sequel and movie continuity guy. I get every sequel to every franchise that I like because I just like seeing how the story continues. So this really continued the stories of both Unbreakable and Split, and that weighed heavily for me. I was really keyed in on the movie the whole way as a result. So I enjoyed it. I did have problems. We'll get into it, but my overall is that I am really happy with the final product.
Okay. For me, I was a little more middle of the road.
Okay.
So it was not like full-on hatred, like hate on this film. Derp, derp, derp. But I felt like in this modern comic book landscape where everything is so much more popular, in 2000, he made a very incognito comic book movie, which was underappreciated at the time. Whereas, you know, people still really enjoyed it, and it's gained more of a cult following and all this other stuff. It didn't even really, with Split, get the notoriety until everybody was thinking, okay, if it's a shared universe, is there going to be a third film? Is it going to be this thing? And with Marvel and with, you know, DC and with even, you know, like certain horror franchises like The Conjuring and things like that, shared universe is the big thing right now. I didn't like this conclusion very much. I felt like it was...
We're going to have a discussion.
Yeah, I felt like it was just too heavy-handed with the overuse of the comic book reference.
I liked the conclusion. So we're going to go back and forth on that.
Okay, the conclusion to the conclusion.
I liked all of it.
Okay,
I liked all of it.
Yeah, I was
surprised how much I liked all of it.
I had some legit issues with it. I feel like the third act finished strongly, especially at the very, very end of it, with some of the social commentary and stuff that they were saying, but it just felt like...
And yes... What a twist.
Yeah, it didn't really surprise me, though.
Didn't really surprise... Well, the twist within... Well, no, the twist within... Yeah, it didn't surprise me, but it was still fun to see roll out.
Yeah, you see the twist a mile away. You're like, oh, that's... Well, I can't say.
You're careful.
I can't say. But
everyone knows Shyamalan has twists.
Sham Lemon Ding Dong.
We're okay. We're still in non-spoiler territory.
No. And this is where I have to say, though, that it's a terrifically shot film, and performance-wise, even if I was a little irritated with the lack of Anya Taylor-Joy or the son or a few other characters, or the overuse of Sarah Paulson, I still, like, I thought every single performance one given time was great. Especially Mcavoy. Mcavoy steals this movie for me. He was the best part of that last movie, and god damn,
those of you that
he brings it so hard in this, even better than in the last one.
He brings it. I 100% agree.
That's why I'm getting incessant right here, because he makes this goddamn movie.
Mcavoy rocked the house. Mcavoy was the shining star of this movie. He takes what he did in Split, and kicks it up a notch. Believe it or not, kicks it up a notch. And not only that, but he's given.
It's better.
Shamhammer, dude. Shamhammer wrote this script. To allow him to shine in this role, because there was no less than at least 2 hyper impactful scenes where he got to run the gamut. No. I'm going to take that back. No less than 3 or 4 of those scenes at least.
I think there's at least a handful.
Yeah, probably 6. But here's the thing. Every time he was on screen, he was captivating.
Yeah, he is terrific.
And not only that, but we saw a limited number of the personalities in the first movie. Yeah. We see more of the personalities in this one, and it's so awesome.
I think we even see a couple we didn't.
Yeah. We did
get a taste of in the.
We did. Yeah. No. We saw. I think 9 or I can't remember. It was like 7 or 8 or 9 of the whatever. What was it? 12 or 13 that he has.
Something like that.
We saw that many in the first one. We see pretty much all of them in this one, and it's so awesome.
Yeah, even if I had some issues with some of the script structuring and, you know, a few other things, his performance is so flipping good in this movie.
He's worth the price of admission alone.
Indeed. Easily. 100%. And so, I just wanted...
I think she played enough of a role as she needed to.
She had enough in the third act. She had enough in the
I feel like if she had had more, it would have felt crowbarred.
You think so?
It didn't feel crowbarred because it was used for the right amount.
It's a very tough juggling act because of the fact that the best way that... Okay, if I'm going to give a final overall impression before we segue into everything else, I'm going to say that this was like a crossover comic book between two characters I adore. In this case, you know, multiple ones, where... I felt like some of the stuff was more on the ho-hum side, almost like I don't know, Batman Spawn or something, you know, where I thought it was just... You
mean Spawn Batman? Because Batman Spawn was awesome. Spawn Batman was the one that was kind of weak.
Well, I mean, there was one that had better artwork, and that was the one that McFarlane and Frank Miller did, and then there was the other one, which was...
no, McFarlane had to do with both, but yeah, anyway,
it was the DC one. Anyway, so sometimes when you see characters that...
Split with Shyamalan's
especially in this case, 19 years later, and he said in the disclaimer at the very beginning at the press screening...
From Unbreakable.
Yeah, he was like, this is a story that took me 19 years to tell. You know,
he only says that he didn't know he was going to be telling the last part of the story until Split came out.
And that's where I have such a big issue with this, because I felt like some of the ideas could have been thought out better and not rushed quickly into production because of the...
We're getting into story then.
So let's get...
Go ahead.
So let's get into
you dive into it.
Yeah. So,
non-spoiler, guys, for those just joining. This is non-spoiler.
And you've seen some of this in the trailer already. And a lot of people speculated properly about the fact that, okay, there's more kidnappings that go on. You see that in the trailer. There's cheerleaders. They have been taken to some remote industrial area, and all of his multiple personalities have them all there. And Bruce Willis...
The Horde, that is.
Yes, the Horde. And
From
Bruce,
Split.
And Bruce Willis, he's tracking this guy, obviously, as we see in the post-credits in Split. He kind of has a vibe for what he's doing.
But we actually see a little bit of what he's been doing since Unbreakable, and that's actually really neat.
Which is really fun.
Really neat.
And I will say, everybody knows in the casting, if you've been to IMDb, if you've read any of the other stuff, they bring back the same child actor.
His kid comes back.
His son is still
fully grown,
and they're working together. It's pretty dope,
The kid is like the man in the chair.
And it feels...
It's so dope.
And it feels
this isn't a spoiler. This is something set up at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and also described in all the press releases and everything. It feels so comic book to have the son there as the voice in the ear and everything as he goes around and investigates and stuff. But so yeah, he tracks McAvoy's character, and that's how they all end up, as a lot of people speculated. And this is the first 20 minutes of the film, but they all end up in the same institution, and Paulson is trying to convince them, as you see in the trailer once again, to reassure everybody. She's like, "You're not superheroes. You don't have superpowers. You are all just delusional people, blah, 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 blah." And you can tell that the person of the three in the worst state is obviously Mr. Glass, MG. And, you know, and then you have just... I can't say I like Bruce Willis's performance in this movie very much.
That's the story in and of itself.
Yeah, exactly. And
the three become aware of each other, and, you know, stuff happens from there. And that's as far as we can get into the story.
Crump. That's
Crumb.
Right.
Yeah.
Kevin Crumb. Yep. Yes, exactly. If we're going to real
from
names.
Split.
Yes, truly. And so, I mean, aside from... What's that?
Take a half step to your left.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey.
Oh, that's a full step. There you go. There, you're perfect.
Half steppy? Yeah. But, I mean, beyond that, there's really not much else that we can spoil beyond the fact that we know that Mr. Glass has, you know, nefarious plans, and he's trying to escape, presumably, and then you have just this debate even amongst the characters. Are we really gifted or not? You know, do we have powers? What is going on?
But it's so cool to see
that Paulson is putting forth, and then you also have a little bit of Anya Taylor-Joy's character where
she comes into it because she finds out that he's been a little bit. She finds out that he's been captured, and so that's how she sort of gets involved in everything. She wants to go and sort of put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, and really see that he's been caught. And because she's invested based on what happened in Split, so it actually makes sense. Like, I was worried that she was going to feel real crowbarred. And what ended up being really interesting about this movie is that everyone had someone.
They all had
like all three people. It was so good in continuity.
They all linked up.
So David had his son. Mr. Glass has his mom that still visits him in the asylum.
Same mom as in the original
Same
movie,
mom as
right?
in the original movie.
So they kept that.
And then
cool.
the Beast, or AKA Kevin, has Anya Taylor-Joy.
Because
so they all have sort of links in the real world. And it's actually, while there were some definitely ham-fisted moments, sticking with story and script, there was some ham-fisted moments, there was some very obvious foreshadowing.
Big time.
But overall,
which I think you and I
and there was one really big decision that I wasn't a huge fan of, which I'll get into in the spoiler section. But overall, I liked what Shyamalan did with this. He made decisions and he stuck with those decisions, and I was actually impressed with that.
Yeah.
So some aspects of the writing I liked. Other aspects, I was like, that's pushing it.
And that's about where I was, too.
Okay.
So, yeah, beyond that, I mean, performance-wise, if we're going to segue into that, because there's so little we can really spoil beyond that dynamic and the fact that all that stuff is kind of hanging over.
All of it's in play, yeah.
Yeah. McAvoy crushed, as we can say. And even when they finally gave some meat for Anya Taylor-Joy to chew on, I thought she was good in the third act. You know, her scenes with, the Beast and everything, and just understanding
the Beast was so cool.
I still contend.
Let's stick with James first.
I still contend the fact that he induced an essence of Stockholm syndrome with her, in the fact that she cared a little.
Well, that'll be for everyone to decide. That'll be for everyone to decide. I don't necessarily agree with that. Maybe a little bit, but whatever. Let's stick with James McAvoy. His acting was
ridiculous,
utterly incredible. The way and they do it so interestingly, because it's established in Split that bright light flashes,
20 personalities, and then
no, I think it was in the teens, but bright light flashes can cause him to shift between the personalities, and so they actually use that in his imprisonment, and it leads to really interesting scenes where he's trying to run at someone or to escape, and then boom, the light flashes, and then another personality arises and comments on like the situation in their own style, and it is magic. It's seriously, it's like watching a magician at work. And they even kind of refer to a magician, magician sort of stuff in the movie.
Oh, they give that initial talk about the whole sleight of hand aspect.
Yeah, but to see how he shifts
somebody may not have powers.
But but that combined with the direction, like I want to give kudos to some aspects of the direction, much like the movie. Some aspects of the direction I want to give big kudos to. Some aspects not.
He's very talented.
But when he does those scenes with McAvoy, right? When he makes those scenes with McAvoy and he shifts away and the character changes and then shifts back and he's someone else now, it like gives him a chance to shift, and it's very organic and it works very, very well. But McAvoy was incredible.
Yeah, I still honestly, to counter your point a little bit, I like the whole Twitch scenes where he was in the midpoint of talking as a particular character, and then he would do like the and then just get right into the other character, especially some of the ones that mirror each other a little bit more so. I was just floored. I was laughing. I was aghast at times. I mean, I think some of my most just prolific reactions to watching this movie were seeing McAvoy on screen and him just crushing it so much as this character. Especially since some of the returning characters did not wow me as much. Not to say that I hated Bruce Willis in this role, but I felt like he was continuing his mailing it in and just not being as into it.
I don't think he mailed it in quite as much. I actually got a bit more feeling in this than, like, I felt like
there was one
he was a little more invested than he usually is in some of the roles we see him in nowadays. I didn't watch Death Wish, so I don't know. I hear that one's kind of fun, but. But yeah, this one, it didn't feel as mailed in to me. If you felt, that's your opinion. I happen to disagree. I think he was a little more invested in this one.
Just a tiny bit.
But I think it made sense when you see where the story was going and stuff, that he was invested.
Yeah,
so.
And then it's tough to really say much about Samuel because of the fact that he's drugged for a good or do we think he's drugged? You'll have to watch the movie to see. But he's in kind of a borderline catatonic state for a good chunk of the first half of this movie. And you're really wondering how much he's plotting, how much he's not, how under everything he is. And once he finally gets to it, he's great, but we don't get him for a good chunk of the movie, which is deliberate storytelling and structuring and stuff like that. But I will give credit to the younger cast in a lot of ways. When Anya had opportunities, I thought she was great. I thought the kid, I don't know if he's still acting much.
I liked what he's doing. He did,
I thought he was really good in pretty much every scene, whether he was, talking to his dad through spots to scout out.
And Shyamalan really tied it in well with The Unbreakable, because they used some flashback scenes from the movie, and it was
both films
so effective. So effective.
And you see the resemblance, and honestly,
you can tell it's the same guy. I was
you can.
I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm gonna have to look up later and see if it's the same actor. And then they show a scene later. I'm like, no, it's the same actor.
Oh yeah, they had announced
that's the same actor.
And I must say, in some ways, even though you're going to get so much more fulfillment out of this if you see it and you've seen the previous two movies, based on that interconnectivity, based on just those little tidbits of flashback and stuff that they give you, I think you could kind of in some ways watch this, and
you could. It's just you wouldn't get as much depth as you would otherwise.
Yeah, in some ways, this was like the Dark Knight Rises of the Nolan trilogy for me, in the fact that I
disagree with that.
I had a lot of issues with certain aspects of the story.
Dark Knight Rises was pure shit, so I disagree with that sentiment.
Okay, I was trying not to say that Dark Knight Rises is pure shit, because in a lot of ways I think that it is, but I felt like the script was the problem with Dark Knight Rises. It was not the performances of all the actors. It was not the way it was shot. It was not... because I legitimately did have some storytelling issues with this.
Okay. There were some decisions made.
Are we able to segue into that now?
Well, we talked about the story stuff already, but
I still just want to double down, man, on the fact that I felt the comic references were so incredibly heavy-handed, especially in this new...
There was a lot of comic references.
In this new era where, with the original Unbreakable, it was kind of... It was subtle, at least initially, and then they slowly segued into the fact that it was more of a comic book movie, and then Split really just kept it
wasn't a part of it, really,
the entire time, and then it just makes me wonder if Hammer was like in the 11th hour.
He leaned into the comic book thing.
Should I connect to it?
And that was a bit of an issue with me too. I did feel that was a little over the top at times. It was just
too heavy-handed.
But it didn't ruin it for me. I was like, okay, he's just leaning into it. And honestly, as a lifetime comic book fan, I was fine with that. Him giving credence to that side of things once again. But yeah, I do agree it was a bit heavier handed than it needed to be, and, with regards to how much they ended up dealing with it.
Yeah.
But,
look at the film.
And there was a bit of ham-fisted stuff a little bit later, but ultimately it all played together really well, and I really liked how it turned out. The only actor we didn't touch on, you mentioned a bit ago that it was too much Sarah Paulson for you.
Did you?
I thought you mentioned that.
No. I was saying that, did you think so? Sorry.
Oh, no. I do a little bit. I think they leaned on her character a lot, and I see her so much now.
She's an important character, though.
She is. She's an important character, but I see her so much now that it didn't really affect me as much as... I don't know. It's Sarah Paulson. Yay. It's her playing Sarah Paulson again. So I kind of liked... she was okay. She didn't ruin the movie. She didn't make the movie. She was just Sarah Paulson.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel like she was just kind of there.
Right. Precisely the sentiment.
She wasn't underutilized like the kids. She wasn't overutilized like certain other aspects. She was just... I don't know. She was in we're going to talk about her importance in the threading and the spoiler discussion, but at least for now, I mean, she wasn't bad, and she didn't necessarily detract from anything, I mean, she's always dependable and very solid. She's extremely talented. I will never deny her that. So
now, let's talk about the cinematography and the sound design.
Yeah.
The cinematography was actually really good, except I think Shyamalan has issues with action. I
thought the same goddamn thing.
I think he has issues with action. You don't really get like, oh, that's awesome or anything like that during the action scenes.
Some of the confrontations that they hint at in the trailers happened, I was underwhelmed by those fights.
Yeah.
I really was. I was like, okay, there's a reason he films brooding, slow build horror. Slow build
stuff is his forte.
Like a jump scare. He's got he's got a creepy ambient mood or whatever, but as far as, I mean, shit, it's like asking Kevin Smith to go film an action sequence.
Yeah, and he would admit he couldn't do it, but Shyamalan thinks he can or something.
He sure tried.
It just, that part of it was a little bit of a bummer. The action was a little underwhelming at times. The horrific action was there. That stuff was cool.
There's one where there's a reveal with the glass in the second act where I was just like, so well shot.
Yeah.
And it was tasteful, and it abided by the PG-13, but I was just like, ooh.
So it's such a weird mixed bag. Like, the cinematography can range from really, really good to like, what? During the action scenes. But other, since a small portion of the movie is actually the action scenes, I think it's a fair, like, I didn't mind it that much because 90% of the movie is the other stuff. 10% or less is the action scenes. So.
Well, I must say that despite how great it looked, I was really surprised at how contained this movie was.
Yeah, that's true.
I genuinely was. And that's more so like a screenwriting type side of things. But yeah, I thought that they were going to make the scope a little bit bigger for this film in comparison. But I'm honestly speculating maybe Jason Blum was like, no, keep it about the same budget. Let's not go too crazy with ourselves. And, let's keep it primarily at a couple different filming spots. In some ways, I felt like the zoo had more scope than
Split.
Than the asylum. That we
I agree
so
with
much
that.
time at on this. So, yeah, but those are just minor gripes because once again, performances were so good for the most part. Even if I had some gripes here and there with Brucey,
I did like the sound design, though.
Yes.
I did mention that briefly. The sound design was really cool, especially when the Beast was around.
You could always hear the cracking of the.
Not only that, but just the growls and the things like that you can just kind of hear. It just adds a presence. Yeah, and then his voice and stuff, because again, McAvoy changes his tone and his cadence with every new character, so
I think
he did a really cool job with the Beast too.
And the Beast really, for me, of all the characters he plays, being the only one that had any post-production alteration. And I mean, maybe an ADR, maybe just him tracking it on set, and then they add some effects afterwards. But yeah, major credit to him for that. Boy, score-wise, I can't say anything really.
Nothing really stuck out for me there.
Yeah, and they didn't really even have a lot of callbacks to, because everybody knows the callback to Unbreakable in the post-credits of Split was the big thing.
Yeah.
They didn't even reuse that, did they?
No, they didn't need to. No, we were already in it.
Yeah, because
he was already on the hunt. So it picks up right after Split, right after the right after, but it picks up after the post-credits. Of Split, but pretty much more or less right afterwards. So.
Yeah, where you find out he is trying to track this beast, and they just have an area that they're going after.
Anya's trying to return to her regular life and all that stuff. So
she's such a babe. Damn. Anyway,
I kind of disagree. She's got a little bit of an alien look to her. Same way that Mina Suvari chick from American Pie did. She had a little bit of an alien look to her.
Post-American Pie?
No, at American Pie was the first time we noticed it. But
actually, I'm picking American Beauty because she was in that too.
No, so American Pie. But the last thing to mention is the effects.
Yeah.
I think it was very well done. There wasn't a lot of gore to be had.
Yeah.
But the effects that we did get, were convincing. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, that's why I made reference to that one scene where there's a certain orderly that lags, and then there's, without spoiling stuff, supremely, there's something that goes down, and I just liked how tastefully that film was lit, the way it was that scene, I should say, was lit and shot and everything, and yeah, man, it was badass. I don't know, dark, creepy corridors of an asylum. We've seen it a lot at this point, but it was all tastefully done. I was honestly really hoping we were going to end up at a particular place that
they tease, but I didn't mind that we didn't, honestly. I mean, I kind of did, but at the same time, I didn't. It's a Shyamalan movie, So I don't know. I think that kind of covers all the non-spoilery things I feel like we can talk about.
There's so much more I want to talk about, but we just can't.
We just can't do it.
But, I mean, double down, overall impressions. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But performances, damn, like 90% of the way were fantastic. And if you're into this series, if you liked Unbreakable, if you liked Split, if you loved either of those especially, you have to watch this. And I mean, Shyamalan has been very unabashed in proclaiming this is not another entry that's going to see another entry afterwards. This is a closing of a trilogy. It's the closing of a storyline, and
I definitely felt that way.
I did too. I did too. That's spoiling stuff, and it was. I actually really liked the message of the closing and some of the stuff. I was really upset with how certain things went in the third act, and then when the resounding message of everything started to become more apparent, I was like, huh. Okay, this really is in tune with comic readers and with people who have
it leaves a door open
with decades. It does. So you never know necessarily, and that's once again a way for us to not spoil everything completely. But I felt like that's where the commentary on the comic community was the most accurate and the most insightful.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Was in the end, you know, because I felt sometimes it was just like, it's this reference of this, you know, origin or this type of conflict or whatever it was. But they really reined it home, you know, in the third act.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
So, yeah, guys, I think that's everything we can say without spoiling anything. We're going to go ahead and end the non-spoiler review here. Just checking out a couple of new people that popped up. Hey, Scott Baker, Andrew Church. We've got Jason Chamberlain showed up. Yeah, Jason, we ended up with a couple extra tickets. I tried to reach out to see if you guys wanted to go, but...
Yeah, we had a lot of people that we reached out to. We had two extra tickets for this.
We had 2 extra tickets. No one could go.
Yeah, we had, you know, Marsha couldn't go. Susie had her kids.
The 13th Wolfman. Thomas DeHart. Sandy C.C. Bort. That's an interesting name. James Mock's Trailers was here as well. So, hello to everyone. Thank you guys for watching.
We appreciate y'all.
If you like those movies, go and watch the new one. It is worth your time and worth your money to see this one. I think just for James McAvoy alone. You might not like the end. You might not like the end as much like Fuego. I actually did like the end, so there you go. It's two different points of view in one review.
I had issues with what I felt was slightly anticlimactic at points, and then when they really just gave you the full scope, I was like, okay, I like what they're saying here.
Yeah.
You know,
so, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
So stay tuned for our spoilers review if you want to have the whole movie spoiled for you before you watch it.
Yeah, well, yeah, keep your eye out. We're not going to do it live.
No.
Because that would be crappy for people to pop in on by accident. So we're going to record it right after this. It will go up later tonight, though, or tomorrow morning at the latest. But you guys can check it out if you want to be spoiled. If not, just stick with this review, go watch it yourself, and then watch the spoiler later. So
yeah.
Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, click that like button down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click subscribe as well, so that way you'll get notifications of all of our new episodes.
Woo!
Got a lot of stuff coming up here, so it's going to be fun, including an interview with Vince DeSanti this coming Sunday, who made Never Hike Alone, the Jason fan film that everyone loves.
Recommend the hell out of Never Hike Alone. After rewatching it last weekend before we did all of our, you know, like reviews of the bonus content and stuff, it's damn good. Check it out.
Indeed.
Your voice fan.
So, same thing with Glass. That one is worth your time, too, so go check it out. Thank you guys very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, up and Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared. What, did you just do sign language or something? What was all that?